you. Good morning, everyone. How are you? You sound very sleepy. I've had a very frazzled morning, I'm not going to lie, but I am right now telling myself that none of that happened. I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen. So if I seem frazzled, just know that there is a backstory to that. And we had to walk here, and I live in Austin. I didn't walk from Austin, but I live in Austin. We flew here last night, and then, every street that we needed to get here was closed. So we had to walk. But we made it, and it's all good, and I'm excited to be here with you. I think I want to first off start by telling you that, yes, the title of this class is Later Haters, but I'm not a preteen. I'm going to be 30 next year. Later Haters is something that I was introduced to through working with the brand, the company AT&T, during Anti-Bullying Awareness Month. And they introduced me to Later Haters, and I absolutely fell in love with it. You'll understand why once I give you a little bit more background of who I am. But I was able to sort of make that connection and realize that, yes, even though it is sort of a preteen slang term, it definitely, and I think you'll agree with me, applies to adults, especially in the online community, especially in the world we live in today. So, my name is Lizzie. Nice to meet you. I am from Austin, Texas, where I was born and raised. Sorry, do I need to stand over there? Sorry. Okay, sorry. I tend to walk around. I'll try to remember to stay right here. So, I was born and raised in Austin, Texas. I was born with a very rare syndrome that doesn't allow me to gain weight. I was undiagnosed up until the age of 25, so not being a question mark for 25 years, and then all of a sudden becoming sort of an exclamation point was a really big life plot twist for me in the best way possible. I was diagnosed with neonatal progeroid syndrome. It's made up of two things, Marfan's and lipodystrophy. Lipodystrophy does not allow me to gain weight, as you can tell, and the Marfan's affects my eyes, my bones, and my heart. The heart, of course, being the most serious. My bones is something that we, as in me and my family and my close friends, struggling with a scoliosis diagnosis and having lots of pain with that. So if you see me moving a little slowly or needing to sit down, that is the reason. But other than that, everything else is looking pretty good. Growing up and looking different is something that was completely normal to me. I think it was something that I had to learn to deal with in phases. I was my parents' firstborn. My mom is here with me. She's sitting in the back. Hey, Mom. I was their firstborn, and I was born 2 pounds, 10 ounces, extremely small. There was no amniotic fluid around me. It was kind of a miracle that I came out screaming. I think it sort of was an example of what my life was going to turn into and what my personality was going to be like as I got older. The doctors told my parents I wasn't going to be able to do anything on my own. I wasn't going to be able to talk, walk, crawl, do anything like that. And if you're a first-time parent or you have been a first-time parent, you can imagine being told something like that. Your first question might be, why me or why us? But my parents didn't think that. Instead of getting all of this negative news, they decided that they were going to take me home, raise me to the best of their ability, and treat me just like anyone else. That carried over into elementary school when I went in and realized, okay, I don't look like everybody else. And my first thought wasn't what was wrong with me, it was what was wrong with them. And wondering, why are they afraid of me? Why don't they want to sit by me or hang out with me? Because I thought I was pretty cool. I was very confused, and I remember going and talking to my parents and basically saying, what's going on? I was living this life where I was just like everybody else, and now I'm not. And that was another opportunity where my parents definitely chose the route of positivity and confidence and explained to me that I was just like everybody else. That was a lot easier said than done as I got older after that. I started becoming more aware of the fact that, number one, I don't look like everyone else. And number two, the fact that no matter what I do, I'm not going to look like everybody else. And that was really hard. And when I tell people that, I think you can definitely sort of relate, because we all have those moments when we were teenagers and even now as adults where you wish you could go on a diet and lose a bunch of weight, or cut your hair, or grow your hair, and you wish you could do all these things because in our minds we think that the perception of ourselves is what's going to get other people to like us. And that's sort of where things get a little cloudy and difficult, because as you all know, that's not the truth. The thing that really matters is the perception of ourselves and the way that we carry ourselves into the workplace, into a restaurant, into the world, basically. Learning these lessons is something that I'm super grateful for, especially at a younger age, because I had to learn them in a really hard way. And I think I was able to be taught all these lessons for a specific reason. And I think it's to be able to show people that no matter who we are, no matter how old we are, if we speak a different language or if we don't, we speak the same language, we all have these phases in our lives where we go through just wanting to be accepted, where we go through wanting to go out into the world and you are confronted with confrontation and doubts and negativity, and how we react to that is really important, whether it's in person or whether it's online. Speaking of going online, I'm out of breath. Speaking of going online, when I was 17 years old, I found a video that someone posted of me calling me the world's ugliest woman. Some of you might know my story and be familiar with that already. I always feel bad, well, not feel bad, but I feel like a broken record when I tell people this story, just because I don't want to keep telling it to you if you already know it. But when I was 17, someone posted a video of me calling me the world's ugliest woman. 4 million people saw it. There were comments of people saying, why didn't your parents just abort you if you were going to be so ugly? To kill it with fire? To please do us all a favor, put a gun to your head and take yourself out of this world? At 17, in high school, I unexpectedly found all of this. And as you can imagine, it was horrible. I thought that my world sort of just stopped. And how am I ever going to make it go again? How am I ever going to be able to go out into this world where I had already fought so hard to be confident? It was very different for me to, in this first sort of stage in my life, deal with bullying and, I don't even want to say haters. I feel so dumb saying haters. People who had bad things to say about me. I felt like I can't, if I go out and see all of this hate in person, and it was funny because I feel like a lot of people when I was younger said a lot with their eyes and their facial expressions, and I think we often forget that even though we might not be saying something, our face says a lot. There was a lot of times where I would be out in a grocery store or walking around, or even coming here to New York City, because I came here a lot when I was younger, and going out and walking around in Times Square, which number one is already crazy, but when you look different and you have people just walking, and you just, I would feel like I was this caged person being walked around and people were just wanting to look at it. And it's different when you deal with that, even though they're not saying the words to you and you see it in person. I realized very quickly that it's a whole nother world when you're online. It's been a few years now since I found that video, and if you would have told me when I found that video many years later I would be publishing 4 books, I would be traveling around the world to share my story, I would be living in a great independent life, being a first-time homeowner before the age of 30. If you would have told me that everything in my world that is incredible would have happened because of the one thing online that I thought sort of ended all of that, I would have never believed you in a million years. And here's where I feel like my lessons and my wisdom is something that I'm so grateful and excited to share with you all. I'm sure every single one of us in this room have some sort of social media account, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram. There's so many ways that we can pull out our smartphone, we can pull out a laptop, we can get on all these things right now. Within a minute, if I said, take all these things out, you have access to a keyboard, you have access to a platform. Those two things can be very, very dangerous. They could also be super, super powerful and impactful and incredible. I look at what I do as a really, really big responsibility. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's incredible to be able to travel and meet all these incredible people and have these incredible opportunities. It's fun and it's great. And I'm sure all of you can think of the fun part of what you do, whether it's your career or whether it's something to do with parenting, if you're involved in an organization with your kids' school, PTA, outside sports, and you're involved in that world. You know the perks. You know how great it can be. But it's so, so, so easy to slip into the dark part of that with one click. The second you press send on something, you can be changing someone else's world without even realizing it. You might think you're joking. You might think you're defending yourself. Just think of when it comes to politics. If you see something and you read something that you disagree with, you might want to right away defend your opinion. If that person is typing all in capital letters, you might feel even more compelled to share your opinion without pressing pause, without stopping and thinking, what am I about to say? And what are the effects of what I'm about to say? I lived it. I know it. I've been there. I've been the person on the other side that was affected. And I can tell you firsthand that it sucks. And it's not fun. And you have this sense of helplessness. Because when you're told something online that's hurtful or harmful, what can you do in that moment? There's so many things that run through your mind. You might want to reply and say, you don't know my story. You don't know what I've personally gone through. You might want to reply and just tell this person how horrible they are and what are they thinking and what are they doing. But what does that accomplish? Nothing. I've been in that place. I still to this day on a daily basis receive negative comments, whether it's comments or tweets or you name it, I still get it. And I use all of those times as a reminder to know that I still have a job to do. I still have a place in this world to go out and remind people that your words have power, especially behind a screen, especially behind a keyboard, because you can say absolutely anything. About a year and a half ago, there was a meme trend on Facebook where people were, I don't even remember what they were saying, but it was shaming people. And someone made one of me. Shocker. And it was an old photo of when I was a cheerleader in high school, because yes, I was a cheerleader in high school. And the caption was something horrible and awful. I found it at like midnight or something. And I got ready for bed, and I laid down, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I wasn't mad for myself. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I wasn't thinking, oh, why this again? Instead, so I'm blind in one eye, so I only wear one contact. So I had put my contact back in because I was gonna go to sleep. And I sat up and I got my phone out. I opened Notepad, because that's the world we lived in, where you don't really have an actual notepad next to your bed. And I sat up and I wrote a post. And the post basically said, this is a trend that's going on. One was made about me, and I have seen a lot made about other people. And the message was simple. There's a human being on the other side. So when you're up late at night, and you're scrolling through Instagram, or you're scrolling through Facebook, and you're scrolling through those comments, and you see one of the millions of memes that are out there, and it's just some person, and you laugh, and you might send it to a friend or screenshot it. That's a human. That's a person. There's not someone out there reminding us of that, because they're everywhere. I'm not going to stand here and say, I've never shared a meme or I've never laughed at one, because I have. But I will stand here and say, before you laugh at one or before you share one, remember there's a human on the other side. If you're a parent, if you're a brother, if you're a sister, if you have a younger person in your life, I ask you to be that reminder to them. When you see them share something, or you see them talk about something, or you just see a trend and you just kind of want to throw it out there, don't be afraid to do that. I ask you on behalf of the person in the meme, or the person in the bad YouTube video. Don't be afraid to say something positive. I wrote out that post and I posted it. It's like 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. And after I posted it on all my platforms. And I went to sleep, and I honestly didn't really think anything else of it. I went to sleep, I felt better, like, okay, I got it off my chest. And I woke up the next morning and it had went viral. And I was shocked because it was working. And when I woke up, there were hundreds of people who had shared it on Facebook. By that afternoon, it was everywhere. And news media was picking it up. And it wasn't one of those moments where I was like, yes, more followers. It was one of those moments of, yes, I'm doing something. It felt so good. By that night, Facebook had taken down all of those memes. And I get chills thinking about it, because I feel so, I don't want to say guilty, I don't want to say sad. I have such a special place in my heart for people who are made to feel as if they are not equal or good enough or human, just like us, because they don't have the same reflection of us. I have such a special place in my heart for those people, because those people are not the ones who should be bowed down to or made to feel like they are just so much better than us. All they want is to feel as if they are on the exact same level as us. Online, your words have an impact. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself or like I'm a broken record, but it's just so important for me to get this point across because we live in a world where social media is at the top. Whether we realize it or not, we wake up in the morning, we're scrolling. You're walking somewhere, you're scrolling. You're eating lunch, you're doing your job, you're scrolling. It's everywhere. So please, as an adult, for yourself, keep in mind what you're saying. As an adult who's someone who might have a younger person in your life, be that person who helps guide them. Because yes, the internet can be really scary and really awful, but it can be so incredible and so amazing. I have so many stories that I can stand here and tell you about all the things that have happened, all the great things that have happened through the internet. But I want to tell you a full circle moment that I had. Actually, sort of two. In 2013, in December, I did my first TED Talk. If you don't know what TED Talks are, that's okay. I didn't know what it was. I actually thought the email was spam because I was like, who's TEDx? I don't know. I ignored it. I really did for like 2 weeks. And they kept emailing me, and I thought, well, I should look this up. And I asked my dad, and he was like, are you kidding? That's not spam. Anyway, I did it. And I spoke at the first ever all-women TED event in Austin at the beginning of December in 2013. It was incredible. I did my speech, and just like every speech that I do, I've been speaking for many years now. Every speech that I do, I sort of just kind of wing it because planning freaks me out. And in my mind, I know what I'm going to say, and then I somehow get there. I don't know how. I know. I shouldn't tell people that, but it works. But anyway, I did this TED Talk, and it was my last one of the year, and I thought, well, I usually take December off. So it was my last one, and I was like, well, that was cool, that was fun, and I went home, put pajamas on, ordered Chinese food, and called it a day. A week later, it went viral, and I was shocked because I thought TED has very strict rules, and you have to plan and submit things, and since I don't really do that, I did it, but in the back of my mind, I kind of knew I was probably not going to go with it, and for 3 weeks, I had to check in with someone, and we planned and did all that stuff. I ended up being asked to be the closing speaker of the day, which I didn't know was a big honor. So I was able to watch everyone and just sort of soak it in. And right before they called my name, I looked at the girl who was planning with me, who I had only met in person once. And I looked at her and I said, do you trust me? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, I'm going to throw everything out and I'm just going to talk. And as soon as I finished saying that, they called my name to go on stage. And so I went up, and if you've seen my TED Talk, there's a part in the middle where I forget what I'm saying, and it's because I was making it up. But anyway, I did the speech, and I was so happy with it. So the fact that it went viral was really crazy to me. And I don't want to sound conceited saying this. It was the second viral thing that had happened in my life, and it was the biggest. And I had never had a response like that ever. It got to the point where I was having to sort of put my phone down because it wouldn't stop going off. And I was so caught up in it. I was so caught up in the verified account sharing it. I was so caught up in all the positivity. And I realized I need to step back. I'm getting too into the hype of this. I need to remember why I do this. So I stepped back and I gave checking everything a little break. And there was one afternoon where I decided to go through a few thousand emails that I had received in a few days. And I got to one email, and there was a video attached to it. And it's always kind of risky because you don't really know what video is going to get. You're going to open, especially if you don't really know the person who's sending it. And I thought, well, I'm just going to open it. And then written in the email was a little paragraph, and it was from a young girl. And she said, I've just seen your TED Talk, and it really meant a lot to me. And so I thought, okay, well, this video can't be bad. So I opened it, and it was a young girl who seemed to be about my age, who had a little toddler sitting on her lap. And you could just see in her face that she had been crying. And she just looked at the camera, just talking to me, and was expressing how much it meant to her, and she appreciated it. And I was thinking, that's just so sweet. And she then proceeded to say she had wished the night before that her cousin, who was like her brother, had seen my talk, because the night before he had taken his own life. And as soon as she said that, it sort of just, the wave of it hit me. And it was like, you get these moments where you're faced with the power of what you do, the influence of what you do. And that responsibility sort of just hits you like a wave. And that moment sort of changed it all, changed my perspective in so many ways, because I had gotten so caught up in all of it. And I think we can all relate to getting caught up in whatever it is. Getting caught up in family drama, getting caught up in stress or gossip at work or with your friends, and you get caught up in all of this stuff, so then you go online and your mind is clouded with all of these other things that's going on. Things like that happen. But you have to remember to press pause, step back once again, and sort of make all that cloudiness go away. Because what you're going to see when that cloudiness goes away is unreal. The clarity that you're going to get from the things that you do might shock you, might surprise you, but it's going to give you so many tools that you need to continue on, to continue to help not get caught up in everything. After that moment, when I saw the video, I knew that my purpose had went from here to here instantly. And so I kept thinking, what am I going to do? At that point, I had published 2 books. I had been speaking for a few years, finished college, and everything was great. And I kept thinking, I have this new responsibility. What am I going to do to continue to help show people that even though things are hard in your life, you can continue and overcome them? I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what the next steps were going to look like. I had no idea a few months after that I would be going on The View and sitting next to Barbara Walters and announcing the Kickstarter for my first documentary, doing up to 2 to 3 interviews every single day for the month of May, trying to raise funds for this documentary, to then accomplishing it, to then the first week of June, flying out of the country for the first time to Barcelona to speak for McDonald's, which sounds crazy, but it was for a women's empowerment conference with McDonald's, so it's not like I was going and talking about chicken nuggets, even though I could talk about that all day long. I know where every good chicken nugget place is if you need a recommendation. Anyway, so I went there and it was super great, and it was another very surreal moment of everything that I'm doing, whether I realize it or not, has an impact. And what I had been doing to show people my story and that you can overcome things has taken me literally out of Texas all the way to another country to then go back and then go to Malaysia and go to all these places and experience all these incredible things. But while I was doing all of these incredible things, I felt like I still had this social media responsibility. I still had this online life that I needed to keep up with. It was a lot. It was hard. It was heavy at times. But I did it. Social media and the internet, like I've said a bunch of times already, can be scary. But it can be so incredibly powerful. And it's not going to take me standing up here. It's not going to take all the other people who you're going to hear from today to convince you of that. We can tell you all of these things, but it's not going to make a difference unless you are the person who physically and actually decides that you are going to be careful as soon as you hit send. Be careful, be mindful, and be positive. Because as a person on the other side, it's a whole nother world than what you think it is sitting in front of your screen. So, with that being said, I will take questions after this, but thank you so much for having me, and I hope I helped some. Do any of you have questions? Yeah, that's a good question. So the coping mechanisms that I used have definitely evolved. I think when I was younger, a lot of it was hiding it and not really acknowledging it or talking about it anywhere, and that wasn't good. I then eventually started talking to my close friends and really confiding in them about that because they knew me for me, and I could be completely and utterly myself around them. And so having that connection with someone and that safety with someone really did help. And then after I turned 21, having me time and a glass of wine always helped and never really hurt. And having a hot bath and sort of just relaxing and reminding myself, you know, my purpose and stepping away and sort of just regrouping, I guess.
Because this is how you were introduced to the world, and now you've had several years of dealing with this, do you still get haters?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And is it any less of a sting now because you've been doing, you know, you have these coping mechanisms? You got wine now. Is it any less of a sting now than it was back then, or is it still the same?
I think it's definitely still the same. I also think it depends on my mood that day. Because, I mean, I am a hormonal girl, and there are days where I just want to cry at everything. And seeing a comment like that, especially if I'm, well, I guess you never really expect it, but if it comes up on my phone, like right when I'm already emotional about a commercial or something, then it's just like, I'm just crying and bawling. And I think now that I'm older, now I have this sense of, I want to defend myself and I want to say something, but I know that that's not really going to do anything. So when I do see those comments, I do acknowledge them now, but in a way of explaining. I get a lot of the hate that I do get now is not so much of like towards me, but to the other people that are commenting and them saying, you know, she really is ugly. Stop telling her she's beautiful, or she's not all of these things. So stop trying to convince her that she is. And so I take those moments to reply and sort of say, I respect your opinion, even though it's not nice towards me, but here on my profile or page or whatever, I like to encourage people respecting each other. So I respect your opinion, but I'm proud of who I am. And I sort of just leave it at that. And it makes me feel like, oh, okay, now I can move on. I don't do it every time, but there are some times that I do it.
Is there a time when you've been able to actually connect with one of the haters, or I guess just the awful people who have said something nasty, and
Yeah.
actually got to have a conversation with them? Because, I mean, I'm sure everyone in the room would agree that you're pretty amazing, and I feel like if they were able to have an actual conversation with you, maybe they would feel differently.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I definitely have been in contact, not in person, but a lot of messages I got, especially after I did the post about the meme. I got a lot of messages from people saying, I shared this and I was laughing at you, but I had no idea who you were. And so I'm sorry now that I know who you are. And so that was another time for me to be able to say, you don't need to know who someone is to feel like it's okay to make fun of them. But I've had people who saw that bad video when I was 17, and years later have found my story again, and they'll reach out and apologize. I mean, it feels nice, but I also take that time to, I think this is just my personality, where I always sort of like to take the extra step and sort of make everything come full circle. But I always like to remind them that if there's anyone else besides myself that you have sort of said something about, maybe apologize to them as well.
If there's people online that may have a hateful and divisive sort of rhetoric, and you obviously disagree with that, what is the way that you then confront it without sort of fighting fire with fire? How do you actually tackle that if going directly doesn't have that impact? And you say, like, what's the point of doing that?
Yeah.
What's the way to go about tackling that?
So I feel like sort of a proud mom when it comes to the comment section of YouTube first, and then really everything else. But since I have had a lot of my networks and sort of just set this a lot whenever I can, really encouraging that I don't want people to fight fire with fire because it does nothing. And I really stress the importance of not saying something negative, and then what I saw a lot was people who would comment and say, I love what you do, I support it, what you do is so inspirational and great, and then someone would say something mean under that, and then that same person would start attacking that person and saying, well, you're horrible, how could you do this? And so I started acknowledging that and saying, I appreciate if you like what I do, but let's take that extra step and not just say it, but show it. And so over time, it somehow worked. And now I don't really need to control or monitor my comment section, because now my community does it for me, which is cool. I think it shows the power that it does work. Well, be completely honest, this year I have not been a really busy lady. I've taken it easy. My mom's probably nodding her head. Okay. Ever since I graduated college and did my TED Talk in 2013, I haven't stopped at all. There was no breaks in between travel, in between filming the documentary, and while we were on break from that, I was working on the book and recording the audiobook, and so it's been something right after another. And it got to a point where I was completely burnt out, and I couldn't do it, and I would be calling my parents and crying and saying, I'm just so tired, I can't do this anymore. And I started realizing that in order for me to be able to go out and do what I do, I have to take care of myself first, and that it's okay to say no. I was saying yes to every opportunity, no matter where it was, no matter what it was, because in my mind, all these opportunities are going to go away. And so if I don't say yes, then I'm never going to have opportunity again, which is not true. So for the first time in a very long time this year, I've been taking it easy, and it's been pretty great.
So you talked about the two viral moments that you had. What do you think it was in what you said, or what you did, or how you were, that made that so viral?
For which one?
So you talked about the TED Talk going viral, and then the video.
I think I've always had sort of a rule. I guess, I don't know. I don't know how to be someone else when I'm doing other things. I only know how to be myself. So I'm the exact same person right now, on a plane, at home. Nothing changes. I just comb my hair when I do things like this. Otherwise, everything else is the same. And so when I'm posting something, whether it's a post on Facebook, whether it's a speech in front of thousands of people, I'm the exact same person. And I will always speak from my heart. I will never sugarcoat. I will never lie. I will never pretend. Everything is from my heart. And I think that authenticity relates to a lot of people. I don't know who to pick. You're at the same table.
This will have to be the last question, and then please see Lizzie after it.
I don't know who to pick.
So sometimes I want to delete all my social media accounts, run through the hills, and live off the grid. And not just because of the haters, but also because of the getting caught up.
Right.
So how did you keep all your social media accounts? Obviously because you saw the power of good that you were creating and that others were creating. But do you ever worry that sometimes the evil from social media will overpower the good? Do you think would it be better if everyone were just off social media?
Well, I completely agree, and I do have those moments where I just want to delete everything and just not worry about it. But I relate that to when someone asked me, you're doing all of these things and bullying is never going to end, so why do you keep doing them? I'm never going to stop because I hope that that one speech or that one comment or whatever it is that I do, I hope that that is making progress. So when it comes to social media, I hope that is making progress in what I'm saying, and I can only control what I'm saying. So even though the world might seem super negative and everyone's posting horrible things, it sucks, but I'm still going to be me and hope that makes a difference. Thank you.
Lizzie,